Hey everyone, and welcome to our show In the Wires, our week in review extended show with your host, the tour guide. So today is the 2nd of September 2024, and we're going to be going over last week's series, everything that we talked about, again, week in review. So that was the 26th through the 29th of August, our Monday spiritual and social causes discussions, business and tech talks, the nutrition and health discussions with Genesee Nutrition, as well as our showcase event with Present Reality Enterprise. So first and foremost, I want to thank you and welcome you to this journey as we go a little bit further into the show and I go into a little bit more details and expound on some of the talking points that we discussed last week. So for our spiritual and social causes discussions for last Monday, the 26th, we talked about treat them better than you think they deserve. And the reason why this came up to me is, well, to be honest with you, I don't really know where it came from. I was just having some prayer meditation, physically and mentally exhausted, and I just had the thought come into my mind, and it was, treat them better than you think they deserve. And this is in reference to dealing with pretty much any person. It's more specifically, though, those who are on hard times, recovering addicts, those who are unhoused, displaced, people who are recovering or healing from trauma, any person that you might be having some kind of difficulty with. And this perspective is really in part also having a Christian or spiritual mindset. It is realizing that we can't expect people just to feel better or just get better because they need to or they have to. We have to take it, some people and some responses, with a lot of compassion and patience. And I'm very well aware, and I've said this in the podcast, so if you want to get more information, all of the links to the podcast are in the description of this video, and you can get more in-depth understanding of what I'm talking about. So this is, again, just a quick overview of what we talked about. In short, though, I am very well aware that there are people who are manipulative and enabling. They take advantage of the system, they take advantage of people, and they're just going to be that way. They're just stuck in their ways, and that's who they're going to be. There are other people, though, who are on hard times, who are in survival mode, who are in constant state of hypervigilance, and it's going to take a while for them to drop their guard and just accept. And it could be years. People going through treatment and the healing process. Sometimes we are quick to slap on a label and just stick with it and just say, this is how this person is, this is their identity, this is who they are because of these actions that they've taken. We already know this person, and we're going to just stick it to them for forever because that's who they are. And because of that, there is no opportunity or chance for them to recover or overcome because we're just constantly raking them over the coals, throwing a guilt trip on them, and not creating an environment where they can thrive and survive and heal. And again, I'm well aware that people need to live with the consequences. There's a time and period and place where people may need to be isolated and moved to a separate place of recovery. The thing is, though, like I said before, and I'm going to keep reiterating and stating, is if you are so quick to just slap the, people or beat them with the, browbeat them or hit them with the book, all that stuff, throw the book at them. Those are expressions I'm trying to come back up. If this is always your response, with limited access to resources or help or compassion, how do we expect people to change? How are we going to expect the responses to improve, or the behavior to improve, or for a better or different outcome in the long run, if they already have the expectation of no one's going to care, they're not going to have any patience for me, I'm going to be treated like a terrible person because of things that I've gone through and endured. So this is why I have to keep reiterating that sometimes we need to treat people better than we think that they deserve. And I brought up any of the examples of the Old Testament. People were really strict, and in the Bible, the Pharisees came up with all these different laws, and Jesus came up with a different approach to love the people, to love them and have compassion, willing to dine with them and eat with them, and even as God coming as man to earth was him showing his humility and his love and compassion for us. And that's why he came down to earth, to extend that love. And each person, each life has their own set of trials and tests and tribulations that we have to overcome. And I think part of the test for us sometimes is how are we going to treat other people? If we think that they deserve a certain form of treatment or punishment, are we really doing a service to our fellow man, to our communities in the long run, if this is our response to things? And I know we need to have rules and boundaries and respect and security and safety and consideration for those, and consideration for victims and survivors. There's also another aspect of those. How are we handling people who we perceive as problematic or troublemakers? Sometimes we have to analyze the whole situation. And if you're in an opportunity, in a position or a place where someone has shown signs of improvement or they need a little bit of help, to be quick and willing to extend that compassion. Now, this isn't everyone's calling. I need to emphasize, this is why I have to do this show, is to add extra things that I was not able to say or did not explain clearly. I also believe that this isn't everyone's calling, so also take that into account and consideration, that there are people who are the enforcers and there are people who are compassionate, and there's people who possibly need to be reminded to be more compassionate and to treat them better than you think they deserve. So if that's for you, then you know what I'm talking to. If it's not, you can just have it go through one ear and out the other. So for our business and tech talks discussions, I brought up from the archives our book, Crucial Conversations, and it's coming from chapter 9, Move to Action. And I absolutely love this chapter in particular because this one is talking about how you actually make a decision. When we have a crucial conversation and you're conversing and dialoguing back and forth, oftentimes people think that learning these skills is also going to help you solve a problem. And problem solving is another skill that comes after you learn the effective communication. It's kind of confusing. So I have some notes from the blog, and I'm just going to read them off from the segments. So how to decide methods of decision. So one of the crucial things you have to remember, that dialogue is not decision making. And part of the riskiest times during a crucial conversation is in the beginning, when you enter a possible unsafe environment and need to maintain safety in dialogue. And also a dangerous point is at the end of the crucial conversation, where a decision needing to be made may create violated expectations. So though you have an idea of how something should go, how you want it to go, what you want it to be, you have to be realistic about your expectations and learn the problem-solving skills. So for chapter 9, again, this is coming from our Tuesday Business and Tech Talk discussions, chapter 9, how to decide. And problems that often arise after dialogue. People may not understand how decisions will be determined, or no decision gets made. These are things you have to consider. And a very important quote on page 163 from the book Crucial Conversations says, "Don't allow people to assume dialogue is decision making. Dialogue is the process for getting relevant meaning into the shared pool. The process involves everyone, but does not mean that everyone is going to be in the process of decision making." So these are more skills you have to learn. And I'll just take a couple of more highlights. One says the 4 methods of decision making: command, consult, vote, and consensus. And we'll go into more detail if you check out the blog for that one. And then who cares, who knows, who must agree, and how many people are involved. This is another method or technique they have. So it's a very lengthy blog post. There's a lot of notes in this one. So I feel that this is vital information for people who are in the business sector. When you are faced with a lot of decisions that need to be made, how do you actually get the decisions made? So get the entire book and read it, or if you need, again, the highlights, chapter 9, very, very good information. Move to action. How do you take dialogue and decision making and actually make things happen? So that was for Tuesday's Business and Tech Talks discussion. So for our Wednesday health and nutrition discussions with Genesee Nutrition, yours truly, we talked about no teasing. So these are real beneficial teas, and I absolutely loved this segment because as much as I do respect the medical industry and those who have taken their health into their own hands and needed something that would help them alleviate their anxiety, stress, and depression, and you've done what you needed to do to get to the health and well-being that you're at, I applaud you. There are so many methods out there: prayer, meditation, lots of changed, diets. Exercise is great. For me personally, what had helped me was utilizing varying teas. Different types of teas have helped me personally. And I also put in that blog another blog regarding some of the dangers of antidepressants and what they don't tell you about. And not everyone needs to be prescribed them. There is enough evidence that supports that there has been an over prescription of these medicines and these different treatments, that some of them aren't necessary, that they're overprescribed, and that there's alternative routes out there. Disclaimer as always, I need to say, yes, I'm aware I am not a doctor. This is why we're having this discussion. So for the people out there who are already on a regimen that's working for you, stay on that and just consult your doctor if you want to try something else. If you haven't tried anything, do some more research, look into it. But my personal preference is to utilize, of course, prayer, meditation, fasting, a changed diet, some exercise, or volunteer service for me is exercise. In addition to St. John's Wort tea, valerian root tea, as well as ashwagandha root, and there's also lemongrass. And one of these days I will get into the medicinal mushrooms that I take as well. But for the most part, those are the teas that I rely on to help relieve anxiety, stress, and depression, and it helps me. So if anyone is curious or interested in trying some new stuff, that is what I recommend. Okay, so for our last show that we did, it was the Thursday showcase event with Present Reality Enterprise. So I wanted to showcase Kingdom of Cade, Society for Creative Anachronism. And that is essentially, the anachronism is a specific time period that's out of place, just a celebration or appreciation for a set of time that is not currently or anywhere near our time era, and that you are feeling like out of place. I feel that I am an anachronism, if that makes any sense. I'm like way old school that it doesn't even, I don't know, I'm not even registering on the scales right now of how antiquated my thoughts are. But we live here in this society, and it is what it is. But the Kingdom of Cade, so this goes back to the 70s, where people got into the appreciation for the medieval era, and they formed these kingdoms and these, what are they called? Shires? Not shires. I don't have the notes right in front of me, but check out the Kingdom of Cade, Society for Creative Anachronism. It's the link in the blog. It's in the description. There's more information if you click on that. It'll have the links to the website. So if you're into studying the history of the medieval time period, if you're into learning about the archery and the different weapons and the swordsmanship, the athleticism behind that, the time period dresses, the food, the culture, the artwork, and the crafts that they make, and the clothing. It's an educational part of it as well, and it's just a great community. From what I can tell, I've talked to a couple of people. I need to reach out to them again, because it's just great that the people are so passionate about preserving history and learning about it and sharing with other people. So if you want to expand your historical interest and your hobbies and just meeting new people in different communities, I totally recommend you check that out. And yeah, have fun with it. I just got done reading a book with my children, Dragons Don't Cook Pizzas. So it's kind of cute. And then we watched the movie The Sasquatch Gang, which has live action role playing in it. It's really fun as well. Very humorous and enjoyable. So again, that's been our week in review extended shows. Thank you for joining us in the wires. Shout out to my boy Kanye West 2020 in the wires. So that I've been your host, the Tour Guide. At any point in time you're consuming this, I can only hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us. And as always, God's peace and blessings to your family.